Welcome to In the Spotlight with Amy Scruggs, where we feature great artists, entrepreneurs, community leaders, and well, anyone that should have that moment to share their story in the spotlight. Welcome to another episode of In the Spotlight with Amy Scruggs, and I have a fantastic guest for you. This is the one and only Jimmy Yeary. He is making quite a stir in the bluegrass genre as a recording artist. He's out there. His music is just epic. You want to check it out, but we get to have a conversation with him right here today. Jimmy, thank you so much for being with us.
Well, thank you, Amy. Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Now, I'm a fan, just so you know, first of all, and there's a lot to talk about when following you. You've got just so many great things going on, so much fun music. But I want to step back a little bit further to young Jimmy Yeary, and let's talk about when music began for you and what that was like.
It started out in southeastern Ohio, which was nothing but cornfields and guilt. It was just, we sang in church every time there was a church open. It seemed like we were in it. And so it was the gospel, a southern gospel-y, mountainy kind of country music. And then I like to say quickly that my papa always had yard sales, and he never sold anything because he overpriced everything. But I made $2.50 pulling weeds off for a neighbor. Went over, couldn't wait to spend my money, and spent. He gave me a quarter off, which was historic, of a tape of Billy Joel. I took it home. I played it. I didn't know who Billy Joel was. I just was so happy it was mine. But once I heard Billy Joel, I'm like, I've got to. All music must be this good, and it's not. But it was just. I was like, I've got to be a songwriter one day. So I mean, literally, that was the seed that sort of started my journey of wanting to create songs.
Wow.
And yeah.
Oh my gosh, what a fun story. Now, what about instruments? When did you first pick up any instruments?
Bugged my dad to death about getting me a guitar. And because he played he would play for he and mom in church, and then I would just please. He finally got me a little dinky red guitar, and I begged him for chords. He wrote it down on paper. I went and learned it. Came back, played better than he did. So then I started playing for him and mom in little churches, and that's how that all started as well. Yeah, 8 years old.
That's fantastic. I as well. I started music at 3, playing piano by 5. So I understand that just starting so young and being instilled in you and growing up singing in the churches, it just becomes a part of everything that we know. But so much came from that. I think you probably learned a lot about yourself by starting that way, don't you think, as an artist and as a person?
Absolutely. I really felt that music. I really loved it and still love it. It's, I'm still rooted in a great deal of faith, and I'm married to Sonia Isaacs. Yeary, so with the Isaac, so I'm kind of drenched in that world. But I sincerely, it taught me as a kid a level of emotional maturity, that it was okay to be vulnerable. It was okay to write about, because you can write a song about some pretty serious, deep subjects,
yes, and
present them to people, and people are receptive as opposed to just getting up and starting to talk about a subject. So I learned that pretty early, that, my head was the same size then as it is now. So I couldn't get a girlfriend, but in the songs I was writing, I was the best looking little kid in the room. So it was really neat to be able to create, to feel something, and then other people seemed to feel what I felt. And that was pretty neat to see that connection, a relationship that was formed through. I always go back to songwriting because that's just what got it all started. I was writing way before I've ever found out you could do this,
right?
For
when
a living.
Did you write the first song? What was it?
It was some guilt. Yes, I do, and it's sort of embarrassing, but it was, again, raised in a very fire brimstone upbringing. I was at 8 that I was going to hell because the preacher said if you made fun of people, you couldn't go to heaven, and I was unwilling not to make fun of my sister. So I remember writing a song called "Get Away from Me, Devil" or something like that.
Oh, how cute!
Little churches there. Yeah, so
it was your influence at the time. That was fantastic.
Right? Yeah. So I got up. Dad said, "You got to sing this in front of everybody." So I did, and But yeah, it was, and also singing. You know, I enjoyed the art of songwriting, but found out pretty early that I could sing, and enjoyed it very much. And yeah, so.
So when did it become a phase where you were not just singing in the church, but you said, this is what I'm doing for a living? Let's talk about that transition when you got that first paycheck for singing.
Yeah, well, I didn't see a paycheck for a long time. My dad died young, right before I graduated high school. I mean,
Oh,
I moved to Richmond, Virginia, because I had an uncle there. I started some bands. I was just shy of 18. I mean, right out of high school,
wow.
and just started bands and started playing. The surrounding states and cities, well, I'm not sure what I was trying to do. I would write songs during the day, and was getting an education on craziness during that period, just kind of living aimlessly, didn't really have a target, didn't know what my end result was necessarily going to be, just knew that I loved music, made some okay money, but nothing at all, and but I mean, eventually, and I moved to Nashville at 24,
Wow.
and made less money. So, but
That had to be quite a
for
transition going from Ohio, you said Virginia, and then now over to Nashville. What was that like when you
yeah,
first stepped in Nashville? I remember what it was like when I first stepped in Nashville. What was that like?
yeah. For me, it was different than it was for a lot of people, because I was so. I would love to say I was so mature, but I just wasn't.
Of course
I
you.
was. It's there wasn't a lot of structure in my upbringing, honestly, and so there wasn't really a great deal of structure. I just never quite knew. It took me a while to start picking targets out, and really looking at the end first, and so that I could better know my steps along the way. So I just remember, I sold a guitar. I knew a couple people. I moved here. I didn't know how I was going to survive over a week, but I'm like, it can't be any worse than kind of what I'm doing. I mean, all I'm doing is living in Richmond, Virginia, playing bars till 4 in the morning, and spending all my money on whiskey.
Oh, you can
So
do that very easily in Nashville. That's totally accomplishable in Nashville.
oh my goodness. So yeah, when I moved to Nashville, because I wasn't this great guy. I wasn't really socially, spiritually, emotionally sound at all. So I was just kind of aimlessly going around. But I played, when I got to Nashville, I played downtown for probably like 10 years. I'm playing downtown at
Wow.
all these
Yes.
bars, and starting to establish myself, getting a little dinky publishing deal. So I know I'm moving forward a little
Yeah,
bit,
no,
but
I'm glad.
yeah, but finally got the publishing deal. Not the greatest publishing deal, but it was somebody that would pay me a little bit of money to write songs for them. They
Right.
believed I had something to offer in my songs, and until I finally got that first kind of big break as a writer, which if I can go ahead and tell you, I will.
Nice.
But yeah, I was playing a place called 12th Importer downtown Nashville, and I'd had a couple little minor cuts, nothing serious. But there was a guy there. There was Joe Diffie was in the audience,
No.
and
Oh,
Joe Diffie, well, one of my just heroes. And I
yeah.
did not know, I didn't know he was there, but he had heard from somebody that he had heard a demo I did, and so he came and he hid in the back and he listened to my set, and then he came up to me after the show and he introduced himself, and I about passed out. I couldn't believe it, and he said, "I just want you to know I'm cutting two of the songs you sang tonight." I was like,
Wow.
"No, you're not." And he said, "I am. Watch." And he did. And so one was the single, his next single, and the other was the B side to that single back when there were B sides. But
Yes.
and it was a top 10. It went to 9, I think. Spent almost a year on the radio with "In Another World," and that was really his last.
Yes.
That was his last top 10 that he had. And but yeah, that kind of, they say that once somebody broke the 4 minute mile, then suddenly, miraculously, 11 other people did it over the course of the next 18 months.
Right.
Right. Once you know that you're not horrible and you actually can do this, that's what happened. I just went, okay, here I
Got
go. I'm going to do this. And so, yeah, it was a game changer.
That's
definitely.
incredible. See, that's such a fun story, and that's what we all want to hear. And you had your 10-year overnight success there with the song, like, and that's a
Yeah,
great thing
right.
to put out there too, because you don't just show up and the next day everything happens. You've really got to
Yeah.
put in that time, and you are living proof of paying your dues, putting in the time, day after day after day after day. Let's
Hmm.
talk about bluegrass, because
Yeah.
your roots in bluegrass, your sound in bluegrass is just incredible. Let's talk about that genre, what it means to you, and what you love about it.
Yeah, I just, I was raised loving Ricky Skaggs more than anything in the world.
Yes.
Um, and I just loved and living in Virginia, of course, I was going to the Amelia Festival, the Virginia Beach festivals, and all these great bluegrass festivals in the surrounding area. I just found a great deal of joy um, in the people and the music at these bluegrass festivals. So when I'm living in Richmond, again, I'm 19, 20 years old at one point, and I'm living with an old guy named Junior Harden, and he's got every record, bluegrass record. And that's all the guy listens to, and so I really became just absolutely drenched in that music and bluegrass. Always loved it. Was always raised around some level of bluegrass, but it just made me feel so good. And and there was a stint there during that time when the Lonesome River Band had Dan Tyminski and Ronnie Bowman, and they were just at the height of bluegrass. And then Dan Tyminski, who I didn't know at the time, went with Alison Krauss. And so
Right.
then I got a call from Sammy Sheeler, who was the one of the original members, the banjo player, and called me and said, "Hey, I played with him in bands a year prior," and he said, "Hey, can you want to try out for this group?" So I went. I didn't know mandolin, but I spent 2 months trying to learn it and played several shows with him. But
Wow.
Dan Dominski is one of the greatest mandolin players in the world. So no matter what I could do, I could never live up to that. But he ended up. But during that course, Alison Krauss called me out of the blue, didn't know me from anybody, and wanted me to try out for her band. But in the interim, Dan comes back to the Lonesome River Band,
Oh,
but it was like that was another kind of scene in this crazy movie where I just
yes.
thought, wait a minute, I could do this.
Yes.
I was ill prepared, but it taught me a lesson to become more prepared for opportunity. So it was a good lesson.
How has your sound in your voice and your signature evolved over the last years?
Oh, I when I first came to Nashville, they told me I sounded too bluegrass. So it was like that really chasing a bluegrass deal. Everybody was like, "You just don't know anybody." So I just had this sort of raspy voice that came off clear
Right.
and bluegrassy, and um, yeah. So which is kind of wild that um, the first single I had in bluegrass was a song called "Bone Dry," which was a single for me on Atlantic Records, which I eventually got a record deal with Bone Dry, and it was released to radio. And then the day it was released, 2 weeks the day that it was released to radio, which would have been the official radio release, I got dropped because a new president came in at Atlantic Records and dropped
Oh,
everybody. Yeah,
good
and
grief. Wow.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah, so but then move all these years forward. That was in '97, I believe, '98, and then to move forward all this time, and then go, hey, yeah, I'll put out Bone Dry as a bluegrass song. Sure, that'd be, which is really, I mean, which is my first love. I just, you know, always trying to sound country, but always being bluegrass. To
Right,
come
right.
back and be able to, it's just, but
Well, you
I
just
grew
own
up a
it.
bunch too.
Your sound is
Well,
incredible. You own it. There's no question.
thank you.
How many recording projects have you done? What's that process been like for you?
I haven't done a lot. I honestly, when Billy Droz had asked me, we've been buddies for years, and he's always like, "Hey man, you need to come over and do a bluegrass record." And I'm just like, I'm just too. I got 3 kids. I got Sonia Isaac's on the road all the time. I speak a bunch and do a lot of teaching, a lot of corporate stuff. I write like crazy. I'm doing demos. It's just was a lot of, but he made it seem fun and easy, and it has been. And so it was his idea to go, hey, this Bone Dry song. I mean, this has got to be um, the song to do. I kind of forgot the original question, but how's it evolved? What
Yes.
did you ask me again? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
yeah. So,
the project you've done and
oh yeah, all the projects, sure. yeah. It's so this is really like, I mean, aside from it, it always seemed like I had a project in the works, something would come about. It was never like a huge, like I have to finish this project and make sure everybody hears me. It was never, I never felt like that. This project felt really fun for me. And so that's what made me want to do it. And Billy makes me better. I love, he lets me make fun of him, and that just makes me sing better. So
That makes it even more fun. Exactly. Where is
absolutely.
this project in the works? Is it released yet? Or when is it coming out? What can we expect with that?
I was talking today about that with the label, and we're going to figure that out. We're going to put out another single real soon, and then we're going to kind of get that date together and figure out what all that looks like. So
'Cause this is all
I'm
under
excited.
RBR Entertainment now, correct? That's where you're
That
at now.
that's correct. Yeah. So
When
I
did you
love
join
again.
RBR?
Oh goodness, it's been it's been a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, perhaps, and then took the time to really make sure that there was Bone Dry, Angeline, and then the last one. Correct me if I'm right. These songs that I really just loved. I loved the lyrics. I loved they sounded like maybe something that I had written, which I'm just I just wanted something that represented me well as a songwriter and a singer, of course. So yeah.
I want to talk about your music video. I know you have several, but let's talk about the one that's just so much fun to watch. The trailer, the couch in the yard, the field. Let's talk about that.
So went out to Palm Springs, and it was record temperatures. I think it was 118.
Oh, yes, I have
Uh,
filmed in Palm Springs in that temperature numerous
oh,
times.
it,
I
it
am
was
well aware.
it was just it was crazy, but I just had the best time. There was a girl there that was an actress that they had hired,
Mhm.
and but we became real close. We talked a bunch, and really got, I joked with her, and I and told her I'd been through a couple divorces, so this was going to be pretty easy for me to be around somebody that didn't like me a lot. So the point was to, like, it was like, Angeline, I know you can't
Yes.
be mean, right? And
As she's throwing
so
things at you. It's an
as she
incredible video.
yeah, she's throwing everything. So yeah, it was just so fun, and we were just cracking up during takes, and she was awesome. Yeah,
Well, it really showcased your great personality. I mean, you have such a big, bright personality that is also reflected in your music, which is really fun to see for you as an artist. I mean, as an artist, you want to showcase that, and you clearly just don't have any inhibitions at really showing who you are. And I think that's probably
yeah,
why the fans love you. What has your connection been with your fans and your followers?
yeah. I'm getting better with people are always like, well, when do we love your videos with your kids and with your Yeary Chapel that I'll do, and in
Yes.
a church that I'm in right now that that I built out of an old horse barn, and I'll do some Yeary Chapel shows,
Mhm.
and yeah, and people, so I'm starting to put those out more again
Mhm.
and be more
They're
attentive
good
of
too.
that. Well, and I love it so much. Time is the enemy, but that's really not an excuse. And the fact that I have such a passion and a love for it, I really enjoy interacting, putting out goofy videos, putting out relevant videos, emotional videos, and just kind of speaking my mind. And if I, hopefully I don't offend, but 2 or 3% of the people watching, and I can live with that. But yeah, just I have a really lot of fun with it, and enjoy it a lot.
Well, you're a musical family, you and your wife both. How has this passed through to the kids, and what do you see ahead for them with
Mm.
music?
Oh, it's I can tell you that it's pretty extraordinary what they can do already. They're so almost 12, Aiden, and then close to 7, Gatlin, and then our girl is 5.5.
Oh,
And so, I mean, I can tell you that our girl has. Yeah, it's just they sing harmony together, so
love it.
it's really incredible. And I'm going to start actually posting some of that stuff. I have a video, and you watch. I'm going to post it, and it's of my daughter, who we have found out about 10 months ago has perfect pitch. So I can name any song that I want to of a of maybe 50 songs. I can name a song, and she'll sing it, and then I'll turn it on, and it won't be even remotely off the pitch.
Wow.
So
She's
she
got
does it
it.
over and over. So I have a video of her doing 5 of those songs randomly that my wife and I picked. But yeah, the kids, they sing good. They work on instruments. We leave every instrument out that we
Yes.
can, and we let them just
Yes.
just try to have fun with them. So yeah.
Isn't that the best? I've done the same thing and I know how special that can be, and watch your kids explore, learn these instruments and find their voice. It's so much fun. I'm telling you now, your daughter, she's going to knock you right out of the way here, I think.
Yeah, and yeah. She's just they're so good, and they're
That's
so
so
far,
fun.
and they to be exposed to it like they were. I mean, I really had to
Yes.
pull teeth to be exposed to it and get a guitar and learn, and
Mm.
but to have it so freely given to them, and to try to remind them daily that hey, this is not common, this is rare to be able to
Yes.
have access, and then have the tutelage around you musically that you have so many people in the family and friends that really know how. It's just remember that's a
It's really
blessing.
beautiful. Really beautiful. What's up ahead for you, Jimmy? What are you looking forward to up ahead?
I look forward to writing songs that I want to write and not writing for people I don't want to write for. I've been given a little bit of that luxury. Again, I hope that, some people might hear that I Tim McGraw or this or that and go, he's not bluegrass. I'm always bluegrass. I can't get it out of me. I try to give some of that bluegrass to other people. So when I write, I have a really good relationship with McGraw today. So I'm able to send him songs. Like I sent him a song last week and he cut it 2 days later. So having artists like that and
Right.
that I have a relationship with, that I can just write these bluegrassy country sort of sounding things, and they love them. They tend to, so I have those artists. So continuing to do that, continuing to make music I love, and I do, again, I do a lot of corporate speaking and kind of touch on relationships that that a song creates and how you
Yes.
can utilize that in your everyday life to make connections, to
Completely.
be able to feel that need not to feel alone, and how important that is. So that, and just not getting too stressed and keeping my blood pressure low. So,
Which is also very important. Jimmy, you're
very
an
important.
exceptional human, and you have given so much to the music world and to your fans and those of us that follow you. I just think you're really, truly one of a kind, and so glad that we got to have this conversation today. And I'm excited for your kids getting to grow up watching you model this. And thank you for bringing your story to us today. What a treat to hear the behind the scenes of how this really came together and who you really are, and where can all of your followers find you? Where can we reach out to you?
Yeah, Facebook, Jimmy. I'm so bad at this. I need better training. I need more training from you. At Yeary Jimmy on Instagram. I'm going to start posting more like crazy. I'm going to start getting I need to hire you. Seriously, I got to get the TikTok up and going. But you can go to Facebook,
Yes.
look up the Yeary Tap or Jimmy Yeary. I don't know. I should be whooped for not being a better.
I follow your page. Your fans love you. So you're doing a great job. And your music
thank you.
is incredible. And this was
Thank you,
just
Amy.
such a treat to be with you today. Thank you so much for all of your contribution to music and to bluegrass all of these years.
Thank you, Amy, so much.
Thank you for listening to In the Spotlight podcast. For more information, you can go to amyscruggsmedia.com and make sure and follow on social media at Amy Scruggs Media.